This is Fresh Tracks Weekly. Randy is out of the office at a Loophole event, so he's missing out this week on Fresh Tracks Weekly. But Michael and Blake are going to fill in, and we're going to talk a little bear hunting, a little sheep scouting, some dog training for our deeper dive discussion, so stick around for that. But before we get into that, Michael still has a solid fishing corner for us, so we got to go check that out.
Oh, hey Marcus, I didn't see you there. Welcome back to the fishing corner, guys. Hey, I'm holding the mic. You see this? I'm holding it like it's a microphone. So last week I went hunting with Jace, so we didn't have a fishing corner. The hunting was awesome, but like I just said, this is not the hunting corner. It's the fishing corner, guys. So the weekend before that, I went walleye fishing with my friends. It was our first week of Friday summers off, so I went trout fishing one day. Absolutely crushed it on some worms and eggs. I know everybody loves that. The next day I went fishing with my buddy Casey and Seth. They absolutely did a great job, and I laid a big 0, but here's some of their big fish. Very cool. And then last weekend was a big trout weekend for Cassie and I. It's starting to get really good. The water's starting to clear up a little bit. As you know, or maybe not know, every spring we have runoff. You guys may have seen the chocolate milk, how to catch fish in chocolate milk. Well, that chocolate milk's starting to turn into like skim chocolate milk, or maybe even like to like 2%. So it's looking good. We're out here having a good time. We got great water this year. I'm really excited for this weekend. Tomorrow, like I said, no work on. Sorry, we had a little bit of a card issue there. But anyways, like I said, Fridays are off here at Fresh Tracks. It's one of my favorite parts about working here, besides all the great people I work with. So you know what that means. Tomorrow I'm going fishing. I'm going to go, I think, walleye fishing. Go see if I can jig one up because, like, man, I suck at this. But that's the plan for Friday. Saturday, definitely doing a little trout stuff. Hopefully I got some good updates for you next week. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Episode, I don't remember. Back to you, Marcus.
All right, here are a few news stories that caught my eye this week. In Oklahoma, chronic wasting disease was just confirmed for the first time in wild deer within the state. But looking at the nationwide map, it's not too surprising as Oklahoma has been surrounded by the disease on all sides. So looking at that map, you can tell it's really starting to fill in the middle of the United States, and it's not appearing to slow down. It's hard to get a feel for the true spread of the disease as detection methods and effort put in vary from state to state, but I would guess that most states are behind the curve on the true spread once they finally detect it. Unfortunately, it appears to be spreading pretty rapidly. We keep mentioning chronic wasting disease, but it is one of the biggest issues within wildlife management, I think, right now, and it's going to continue to spread, and hopefully managers start to figure out ways to mitigate or slow the spread, and we're just going to have to figure out how to live with it, most likely. In Washington, the Department of Fish and Wildlife released a draft version of their conservation policy, and it's raising concerns from hunting and conservation groups. In recent years, there has been a shift within the Washington Commission. This cultural change has led to the cancellation of spring black bear hunting and an increased push for preservation over conservation. While those two words, preservation and conservation, might sound similar, they have very different meanings when it comes to wildlife management. Hunters, conservation groups, and most state agencies agree that the North American model of wildlife management has been and continues to be an extremely successful method to restore wildlife, maintain a holistic approach to help the wildlife, their habitats, and humans all thrive and coexist. The basic premise of the North American model is, of course, that hunting is used as a tool to balance wildlife populations with our ever-changing society and fund this whole system with hunting license sales and excise taxes on sporting equipment. While not stated outright, the Washington Fish and Wildlife Commission seems to be shifting a little bit away from the North American model. In recent years, there's been several appointments of individuals who seem to be less friendly of hunters and more in favor of that preservationist type approach. Their idea appears to be to minimize the hunting side of the equation and use less active management by letting nature take its course, bringing back more predators, trying to reestablish a balanced predator-prey relationship without the use of hunting. To unknowing individuals, it does paint a nice picture, where many people like the idea of preserving the landscape and the wildlife and letting nature take care of itself. But many biologists who've spent their lives studying wildlife say that this goal is probably impossible to achieve in most areas. It's a nice idea, but the truth of the matter is that the landscape has changed too much. We as humans have occupied and altered the landscape to the point where our housing, roadways, and resource extraction very much influence how wildlife and their habitats function. We simply can't pretend that humans aren't a part of the equation and expect wildlife populations to function like they did pre-human settlement. The funding mechanism for this preservationist approach is also unclear. The way that the North American model is structured, it successfully funds a significant amount of agencies to monitor wildlife, conduct research, improve habitat, buy conservation easements, along with many other things. Anyway, the point of this is that the future of Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife policies are being discussed in this draft plan. So if you're a Washington resident and you want to submit your comments, you can do that now. I'll put a link down in the description. Another reason that this is interesting is it's probably not an isolated thought process. This could also very well be foreshadowing for other states and other agencies for cultural shifts within the departments. In Wyoming, the magnitude of the wildlife winter kill continues to be realized. In past episodes, we talked about how certain areas are seeing upwards of 50% mortality in adult mule deer and antelope, along with nearly 100% mortality of fawns. But now wildlife managers are saying that, at least within the Wyoming range mule deer population, the herds are likely closer to 80% adult mortality with almost 100% fawn mortality. Tags have been significantly reduced in affected areas to reflect this. Definitely a winner for the books in a lot of western states. Last week, the Bureau of Land Management announced a $161 million investment into ecosystem restoration and resilience work across 11 western states. The Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership put out a great article detailing some of the highlights of how this funding will be used. A few key projects that they noted in this article include, in Alaska, $5 million will go towards improving water quality and aquatic habitat in the Birch Creek and 40 Mile watersheds. In Southeast Oregon, $5 million will go towards habitat restoration through sagebrush planting, invasive weed control, and cutting fuel breaks. In Northwest Nevada, $6 million will go towards restoring and conserving perennial streams in the high desert mountains. In Colorado and the San Luis Valley, $6.1 million is going to restore habitat, improving hunting and fishing opportunities, and improve fire resilience on the land. In Montana, in the headwaters of the Missouri River, $9.98 million is going towards protecting and restoring key habitat for Arctic grayling, westlope cutthroat, mule deer, elk, greater sage grouse. In Wyoming, in the Colorado River Basin, $10 million is going towards fuel reduction, stream enhancement, and erosion control to benefit native fish species. In Idaho, in the Upper Salmon River watershed, $9.1 million is going towards replacing culverts, reducing fuels, addressing conifer encroachment, amongst other things. And that was just 7 examples of 21 different landscapes that will receive funding from this initiative. All right, for the deeper dive, we are talking bears, sheep, and bird hunting.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fresh Tracks Weekly. It's episode 45. Today we have Blake Phelps, myself, and Marcus Hockett. Welcome back. How's everybody doing?
You just really wanted to use the podcast kit came with like the pre-installed sound effects. We can add some applause and stuff later too, I think. That'll be good.
Yeah, I think it's like
that's this little sting, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't play with it. Randy's not here. So, in fact, we were just all sitting around out by our desks, just kind of BSing. We're like, well, we should just record this conversation as the deeper dive for Fresh Tracks Weekly this week.
Yeah, totally.
We don't have a particular topic.
No topics this week.
But other than giving a few updates on kind of what we've been up to, Michael and Jace were just on a bear hunt, and unfortunately Jace isn't here to share his perspective, but we got Michael's.
It was pretty sweet. It was an area that both of us had never been to, so it was like the story behind it is like, so a lot of people, you may not know, but like you can come out and hunt bears in Montana, like you don't need to apply for, I don't know if you need to apply for them, but it's like almost like 100% chance you can get one as a non-resident, right?
Yeah, honestly, I don't remember exactly what the non-resident rules are, but as a resident, you just go over the counter and buy your bear tag every year if you want one.
And so like the whole story is like, well, we've never been to this area. We're looking for a unique angle. Let's just go in there and like do this like you would if you were coming out from like out east or something. And so Jace did a great job of like finding a bunch of spots to go to. We had like a really hard time getting into some of the spots that he wanted to check out because we banked on some of these roads being open, and they weren't when we got there. But yeah, after a few days, we saw quite a few bears, and I'm trying not to give away too much just because like it'll come out in the next.
Yeah, it's gonna be a day by day. Right?
Yeah, it'll be a day by day episode, so people will see it on Fresh Tracks Plus first. Your bear hunt is actually going out on Fresh Tracks Plus right now. So if people are looking to watch some bear hunting content, watch it there first, or you can wait a couple weeks. I think it'll go out like not next week, but the following week or something like that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, but
Blake busted out that edit quick.
Yeah,
that
was
fast.
It was a nice, easy edit. Not too bad.
Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know Blake, I feel like Blake's been on a couple of these podcasts, but Blake started last year in September. I think it was September. Yeah. One of our chief editors on the YouTube side, probably the chief editor. I work with him a lot. Big waterfowl guy.
Yeah.
Big turkey guy.
Oh, yeah.
Been a lot of fun to work with.
Well, the turkey episode, I mean, Blake came in clutch in the 11th hour to
no kidding. It was
get that turkey. So
it was
if you haven't seen that
got on that bird
episode, you should check it out. Or that series, really. We did the crew turkey hunt. It was a blast.
Yeah. Yep, that's all up on YouTube now, so you can binge watch all 3 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Get right through them.
For sure.
But, we saw a ton of bears out there, and yeah, I mean, like we had some sort of success in there, but also a lot of failures, and I don't know. I think it's gonna be a really good episode.
Sweet.
I don't want to give away too much.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, but there are that was one of the best bear hunts I've ever been on. Like when I came out in 2017, like that was like my first go. Was like I moved out here in April, and we started bear hunting a bunch, and like my like baseline of bear hunting was like that was it. It was like we hiked up. We didn't see it. Like, I feel like we went like 12 or like somewhere around there, like 12 days. And we probably saw like 5 bears.
Yeah. We definitely went a lot of days without seeing bears.
Yeah. And so like, it was really cool to go out and like, we saw multiple bears almost every single day on this trip. It was only a 4-day hunt. Yeah. It was a quick turnaround. We had some adversity. It was a good time, but,
heck yeah. It's funny to me that you mentioned that you guys didn't know if the roads are open because it's still that hard to figure out whether roads are open. Like, if there's not a travel management plan, which there's a lot of areas that just don't have travel management plans that are at least publicly available.
Yeah.
That you just like can't tell. Yeah. Like until you get there. It's so funny. It's frustrating. But honestly, like, it's kind of like that little remaining gem almost to me, because as like mapping systems have become so readily available and just everybody has them, like you just know where the roads are and you know where the access is now. Like 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. Yeah. And so it is kind of fun. It's kind of cool in a way that like you can't like predict exactly what's going to happen once you get there.
Yeah. This area was pretty interesting too. 'Cause like, like BLM land most of the time, like it's like, if there's a road there, like you can drive it in most cases,
Well, and that's the thing, but different BLM areas. And then like, because you could say the same thing about certain Forest Service parcels too, and state pieces depending on the state. Like some places, it's just like the management there is just non-existent, and so it's just like all bets are off. You can drive wherever the heck you want. And then and there are examples of BLM too. Like BLM is probably one of the worst of like enforcing travel management or implementing travel management restrictions, where it's just like it's existing roads and trails. You can go wherever the heck you want, but there are some places that have like blocked off quite a few roads, which is, in my opinion, usually a good thing, because rather than having a road every single mile, there's like a road every 2 or 3 miles. Like it was a little less intense.
We hiked into a spot, and so all these roads were closed, and then like all of a sudden we see some dude in there driving his truck, and we're like, what the heck? Like, how did he get in here? And like, because we tried to get up that road, and so long story short, it was kind of interesting because like after he had driven through there, we did find a bear. Like it was like 200 yards above where he drove. And then the next day we were like, we need to figure out how to get in. Like he obviously like knows something we don't know. What he knew was that, or I don't know if he did it, but the lock was cut off of his gate. So I still need to report that. I forgot to do. I'm definitely going to call the BLM station there, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
Why did they close the roads? Is it for maintenance?
It could be for
safety?
a number of reasons. And
These ones actually said why. And
Oh,
it was
wow,
because to preserve the
Soil.
ground, the soil,
prevent
and then
soil erosion,
prevent weeds, and for
wildlife security is a big one. And so, but yeah, it's a number of factors. So, and there's seasonal closures too. Sometimes it's like seasonal for elk calving or mule deer giving birth in the spring, whatever. But then there's wildlife security, there's soil or erosion prevention, just like a wildness aspect of like leaving places unroaded. But if Randy was here right now, I guarantee he would bring up the example of there was like kind of a big come to Jesus moment when was it? The 90s, I believe, when they decided to, it was like state agencies, federal agencies all meeting together discussing like wildlife management in the future. And basically that if you were going to allow all of these roads to be open, or at the time, I think a lot of land, you could just drive wherever you want. It didn't matter if there was a road or not. Like, you could just drive off-road wherever you wanted.
Oh, geez.
And so it's like, if you were going to allow that to continue, we were going to have to restrict opportunity because hunters were going to become more lethal. As off-road vehicles got better, ATVs, everyone had side-by-sides and all this, like, people just kill way more animals if they can drive wherever. And so it's like, we can either restrict opportunity, give out less permits and tags, or we can close down a lot of these roads and we can keep that opportunity in place. And the consensus is like, yeah, let's close down the roads. And that's for the hunting season aspect of it. There's obviously a whole lot of other factors like the soil erosion and, there's plenty of factors outside of hunting, but that's where my mind always gravitates to. So.
It was kind of cool because, like, yeah, a lot of times you show up to those gates and they're closed and you're like, I wonder why. But these ones had, like, because of this reason. And those were the reasons when we were there. But
right.
It was also really cool. We ran into some people that work at the BLM out there, and one of the guys from their like national headquarters.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming DC, like, probably works in DC. And he was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, because I don't know, my mind whenever I hear of block management, or not block management,
Bureau of Land Management.
Gosh, I think of just like sagebrush and like, pronghorn hunting and stuff. But this was like a pretty sweet area that, like, it was mountainous, had great forage, like it looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it
not
depends
to knock BLM grounds because like they do boast like some good mule deer hunting, and like I don't know if I'm mistaken, like I'm sure that there's some other mountainous.
Well, this is a super simplified explanation of it, but a lot of times the BLM land was less productive land is how it, like, at the time when I'm going to butcher this, but at the time when the Bureau of Land Management started and like got all this land, it was kind of the unclaimed or the homesteaded land that people didn't actually want. It was like kind of the land that nobody wanted. It was like the less productive stuff. So like the river bottom, like you don't see a lot of Bureau of Land Management land in the river bottoms or where there's this more precipitation often. It's usually like the arid, like rangeland type stuff. And that's a very simplified explanation. And I haven't looked into it for a long time, but I used to work for the BLM. Actually, I worked for the BLM for a year. Well, not even a full year, but for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it sounds right, and like it sounds like it's been that's the same with my experience. Is like that's what I think of sagebrush, like kind of not forested stuff. I feel like Forest Service is usually like in the mountainous stuff or some state, but
right. And there is, like you said, though, there's some really cool BLM land, and like when you say less productive, that's all relative, like on how you're looking at it.
Truth.
A lot of times, if you're looking at
I'm thinking of like Wyoming, like
timber production.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like Wyoming oil and gas, like kind of stuff is like
oh yeah.
If I had to illustrate a picture of like BLM land, that's what I think. It's like pronghorn, sagebrush, and like an oil rig in the back going up and down. But
totally. Yeah. I mean, that's like the classic. There's a reason people call it the Bureau of Livestock and Mining.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I've never heard that.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny. But What have you been up to, dude? You've been
Well, my
looking
mind
for
is
sheeps?
yeah, my mind's just like totally centered around bighorn sheep. Just scouting it, thinking about it, talking to old stakeholders. Just like my mind's going a million miles an hour, thinking of all the possibilities. It's bad.
If you haven't heard already, Marcus drew a sheep tag. I know we've probably mentioned it on every single Fresh Tracks Weekly, but it's just like, if you haven't yet.
Pretty jacked about it.
How many days till season starts? Do you
Oh,
have
I
it
don't
like down
know.
to the hour? Like,
No, I don't. But it's like I'm hoping most of my hunt occurs before season, and that's like every weekend I get a chance. I'm going to go scout and just like look in there and hopefully find some rams. It's not easy to find them on the summer range. That's what I'm starting to realize. Like the vast majority of these sheep get shot in the last week of season. Like if you look at the
what did you
harvest data,
learn, like even like from last week?
it's so as I'm trying to follow them from their winter range to the summer range, which is what I've been doing, they just disappear. They are incredibly hard to find. They just like, and when you think about the magnitude of the mountain range that I'm hunting, it's like, it is so big compared to like the amount of sheep that are actually in there. And it's not, I'm sure there's some sheep that are not just on like, there's a couple classic winter range spots where they're visible, like from the road in the winter. So you can kind of, like in my mind, kind of go get a query of what is going to be available up in the summer range somewhere. They're going to be spread way out, but like it's such a big area for those however many rams that are there, like less than 30 on that particular winter range. And there's more, I'm sure, that, winter in different spots that aren't as visible, but it's just like, it's crazy. It's a needle in a haystack for sure. And like just talking to people who've hunted before, like a lot of people just don't see sheep at all until that like last 2 weeks of season. And it's weather dependent as well. Cause like if you don't get weather, then, some of them are going to start transitioning regardless, just cause they're accustomed to like moving that direction that time of year. They're going to start rutting, so forth. But still, it's like, I don't know. It's going to be it's a challenge.
That's probably why you like it.
Oh, this is why I applied for. This is why I applied for that permit. I mean, it's like, it's going to be a sheep hunt, like, and I really want to kill one high, like up in the Alpine, like that. Yeah, it would be a blast. It's super cool herd, super cool story. I've been like involved with them for the last 12 years, just like because when I was working with wildlife, I volunteered down there helping with captures. Well, and I also was an employee of Montana State University doing some research where we got a
you collared some of those sheep back.
Yeah, so I helped with capture and collar, and they did like a transplant from that herd, and so there's a lot of cool history there.
Guessing none of those collared sheep are still collared or alive.
There are a few, I think.
And you're still collecting data, or I guess.
Well, no, I'm not. I mean, I was just like a tech. Like I didn't do any of like the actual like data collection or analysis. Like I retrieved a few sheep collars and, would monitor where they were at during the summer. And we did like occupancy surveys, but mostly in different mountain ranges. But there are a few that were captured when I've been there, and I've been on like 3 or 4 captures down there. So both like they would do drop nets, just like drop on a whole herd of them. And then you just have a whole bunch of people run up and process them. And then also darting. Like I wasn't the one darting, but I was actually filming during that. I made a film on the herd at that.
Can they find the film somewhere?
Marcus
Hockey YouTube
channel? I think it is. I think it's on. I think it's on my. Yeah. Well, there's like a couple little short films on my YouTube channel from
you guys should check
way
them
back
out.
way back when. Yeah. Good times. But no, so that's just what I'm occupied with right now. Just like
imagine.
It's so
Marcus
fun.
came in the office yesterday. He's like, "There's been 2 times in my life that I haven't been able to fall asleep at night." And the first one was the day after I drew the sheep tag, and the other one was last night because he couldn't stop thinking about the sheep. It's like, man, you got a long time before that hunt.
Be sleep deprived before you even start hunting.
Yeah. It's just like I'm sweating right now thinking about it. I'm just so jacked. I don't know.
So Marcus is going. It sounds like you're gonna go look again this weekend.
Yeah, for
different
sure.
spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to check different spots pretty much every weekend.
Yeah.
Just
do you think that they're like high, like I mean, I don't know shit about this, but like, are they high up, like in the rocks, or like timbered areas, or like?
So they can be both for sure. Like, yeah, there'll be some that might hang out in some of these high basins, but that's what the consensus a lot of people are saying, especially once that opening week hits, and whether it's just the pressure from the sheep hunters or elk hunters or whatever, a lot of them get in the timber, and so they're just harder to find. And like, it sounds like pretty much everyone I've talked to like has seen like a big ram scouting, and then they just like disappear on them, which is super cool. Just like, it's definitely going to be a challenge. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we'll have to have a weekly update from you on like the status or like the progress that's been made. Last week might have been like
messages.
Yeah, last week it sounded like you didn't find any sheep.
No, I saw 2 ewes and a lamb.
Yeah,
is what I found.
So
and a lot of mountain goats and
are you discouraged from that?
We actually found a pretty sweet bear, which was fun. We went and tried to. It was the last week of bear season, and Kara still had a tag. So
yeah, when editing your bear hunt and seeing the size of the bears, and then I saw Kara's story, I was like, yeah, that's a big boy.
It was a lot bigger than the bear I shot.
Absolutely.
Like, way bigger.
It's a big dog.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Blake?
Gosh.
Dude, first spring in Montana. What do you think?
It's been wet, man. I've been waiting for the river to go down because it's gushing right now. So it's been a little intimidating to try to hit the river for fishing, but been doing a little fishing here and there. But mainly I'm trying to get my dog up to speed for this upcoming waterfowl season. So spending most evenings doing 2 or 3 training sessions and hanging out with her and just.
Is there progress being made?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We've moved on from like single bumper retrieves to double bumpers.
What's that mean?
So the bumper being like the dummy that you throw, right?
Oh, I got you.
So what I do is I throw one and I have her like turn around, and I'll throw a second. Then I'll have her turn around again, get that first one I threw, have her bring it back, and we kind of do a rinse and repeat. And so that's it. It's not really. That's kind of like one of those test hunt kind of things where you do like a test hunt with your dog to get it like certified through like the AKC, and breeders do this.
Okay.
So like having double blind retrieves and stuff like that, it doesn't really translate so well to hunting. It's more of like a formality thing. This is mainly for her to be calm. It's trying to get her to calm down and like be steady. Like obviously she will probably do some double blind retrieves in the hunting field. But
I'm sure. Yeah, I can see how it wouldn't like be a direct correlation, but just like obedience and like understanding commands and all of that. Like that's just seems like a drill that would enforce all of that.
Oh yeah, and she is a firecracker. She is very energetic for almost a 2-year-old dog, and so we're doing as much as we can to.
Sweet, that's exciting. Is this the first time you've trained a dog, or have you?
It is, yeah. I guess I helped my dad with my first dog, but I was very young.
Gotcha.
So this is the first time I've really ever done it on my own. So
sweet.
It's a big learning experience. It's learning something new about her, or something about training every day, and kind of figuring it out. But I'm excited to like get to the point where she is really well trained and doing everything right. Maybe not everything, but 90% of the time doing stuff right. To the point where she's like 5, 6, 7 years old, and I can get a second dog and take everything I've learned from Tilly the first time and apply it to the second dog. So I'm looking forward to that, looking deep into the future.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. I've always wanted to have a hunting dog, but it just doesn't make sense with my current lifestyle.
It's a little later in life. It's probably for you.
I can relate to that too, because it's like you enjoy hunting all the time, and then once you're done hunting, it's ski season for you. And we had many times where we like, I don't have anywhere to put Tilly, so I guess we'll stay home and not hit the slope. So yeah, I could understand it from your perspective, like
it's definitely like there's definitely a waterfowl season for me in there, but it's like overlapped with the tail end of big game hunting and then the beginning of skiing for sure. But some people just bring their dogs with them big game hunting and skiing.
Yeah, Jace does that, dude. Jace brings his I mean, he went bear hunting this past weekend, brought his dog, I forget, Angus.
Angus,
yeah. He was like glassing a bear. He sent me a little pic or video, and like pan down and there's his dog just sitting right
Chewing on sticks.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with that. People get fired up about bringing dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I get it because it is illegal to hunt with or use dogs for hunting in a lot of states, and different states have different rules on it. But there's also people that I've seen that have dogs that are trained extremely well, and they just like hang out, and it's like, they're not going to be hunting the big game. They're just there as a companion. But
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that. People are kind of saying some stuff on.
when I get it, like obviously those rules exist for good reasons in certain states, but
I don't think that. I mean, I think Jace's dog is obedient, but I don't think he's at all like even remotely like helping. I think he's like kind of like one of those things where you like I can't find somewhere to put him.
right.
But yeah, I don't think Angus is like. I could be wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
but he's just like more of like a deterrent probably from wildlife than like
He's not
advantage.
Right. Yeah. Fun times. What else? What are we talking about? We were talking about something.
Well, I was gonna say like a couple little promotional things. Like the Sika film we just watched was amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
If you guys are looking for like a really good story, Sika just came out with a video on Rachel Attila and her father. Adam Foss was the shooter, and it was out of his company, but that video is amazing. Like I almost cried in it. You can also win a hunt with Randy. I know that we're going to do a little video on this coming out, but just to make sure everybody's aware of it, like we are doing a giveaway. I don't know if it's a giveaway or we'll link something in the bio.
It's this year, right?
Yeah.
It's pronghorn hunt this year.
Yeah, in Nevada, I believe.
Like pretty solid.
Pretty sick. And like,
hunt,
we've all, well, I guess Blake hasn't, but we've hunted pronghorn with Randy before. And it's pretty fun.
Randy is just like a totally, I shouldn't say different person but he's just like.
He's locked in.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just locked in and just like, very diligent pronghorn glasser, and just like knows so much about what they're gonna do, and then also scoring them, and like it's just like it's fascinating.
Obsessed with it.
It's like has a pronghorn problem for sure.
Yeah. So that's going on until the end of this month, and I don't we haven't done a great job of like putting it out there. I know Go Hunt has it because it's with like it's through Go Hunt. I think you have to like. I'm not sure about the details. We'll put them in
Outdoor class, I think.
Oh, okay.
Both. I don't know. Those guys are promoting it. We should probably.
Yeah.
It, I suppose.
And then also we just today released a Fresh Snacks new video series. We did it on Fresh Tracks Plus last year, but it's like taking our game, making cool dishes with it. So like Marcus, yours went up today. It's 2 turkey recipes.
Oh, right
and
on.
I will say that turkey pop or not pop pie. What was
the basil stir fry?
Yeah, basil stir fry.
Turkey basil stir fry.
Oh my god, it's so good. So check those out. Yeah, that's like at least from like the media side, like that's kind of like we were definitely BSing about that film for a little bit, like just about the hunting industry and stuff, but.
Well, we could save that for another.
We'll say that.
We're at 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So thanks guys.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus.
We'll be back at it next week. I got some other ideas for deeper dives that we'll have to continue to research and think about. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.